You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, always free and available on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. With the only Chris Level, I'm Casey Cowan. Today's episode brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use our code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Dropping in for an on-the-fly edition, Chris. Appreciate a little bit of extra time from you to talk hoops, as we got to hear recently from Red Raider head coach Grant McCasland, as the season's not too far away, and we wanted to spend just a little bit of time talking about the round ball and hearing from Coach McCasland as he discusses the effort and the intent behind reloading this roster following obviously an Elite Eight run a season ago, and also some time talking about this year's schedule outside of the Big 12 Conference, obviously daunting and full of challenges, but also he touches on something related to future scheduling efforts I thought was interesting. We'll get to that in just a minute, but first, let's take a listen to Coach McCasland talking about the intent and the vision behind putting this roster together.
One, in the Big 12, and especially with Christian Anderson and JT Toppin back, two guys that I think are the best playmakers in the Big 12, you need to have guys that can score and have good feel and have character and want to win. And I think the key component to that was just finding guys that we felt like created space on the floor. Luke's vertical lob threat is another way to create space around the rim, but he's got a good feel and skill. I mean, he can make perimeter shots. So it's just a skilled group, but a competitive group that wants to win, and that was the focus, is how do we create space for these guys that we have returning so that we have opportunity to really put people in a tough position, and then knowing that we got to get better defensively and they care about winning, we could push them on that end to be better than what we were last year.
If you can shoot and you can defend, and you got a little size to you, I'm interested. That's really like, okay. Do they have some length to them, or are they just tiny? Okay, well, we can eliminate the group. Can they defend? What do the numbers show us? Do they active? Do they care? Okay, now let's look at that 3-point percentage. And see where that's at. Oh, it's in the upper 30s, or it's got a 4 in front of it. It's in the 40s. Let's have a chat. Let's do the talk. Let's make an offer. Let's get them on a visit. And so this is what and that's really for your wings and your guards, much more so than Luke Bamboye or anything like that. But I mean, I think they've been pleasantly surprised because it's always fascinating to me because don't you wish you were paying attention to like what Tyree Bryan or Lawan Watts or Donovan Atwell or whatever? Don't you wish you were kind of paying attention to what they were doing last year? If you knew that you were gonna, if they were gonna be playing for your program a year later, it would have been kind of fascinating to be paying attention to Santa Clara or UNC Greensboro or Washington State or whatever it is. But because these are largely unknowns to the fan base, they're not now. But what are they all about? What did it look like when things were going poorly, or how good are they? What's the upside? All that stuff. But so what was it that drew you to them? And I think you got a pretty short but important list on in short, not. No pun intended there or anything like that. You got to be, long and tall and all the things. But if you can shoot it, you can defend, and you, because it's a lot of 6'5" here, or longer in Lawan Watts' case. But that's what they were looking for, and that's what they were trying to. Because I don't envision a scenario to where Grant McCasland will let the defensive issues with this group get to where it was last year when you're trying to put this thing together and then it's New Year's Eve and it's like, this has to stop, because your season theoretically is going to start much earlier than that this year than it did last with the tests on the old table. And hopefully you're not without JT Toppin for a month like you were last non-conference.
Yeah, I hope so. And that's what he said as far as the intent availability wise was to have everybody ready to go for game one. Silly me. I focused in on scouting every minute of the Mountain West Conference's freshman of the year. And the 1 year that was just a fruitless and okay, my bad. But maybe next time around we can get a beat on some of these guys while they're in different uniforms and get an idea. But you're right. When they show up, you're like, who? What? When, where? And then all of a sudden it's like, wow, Final Four team or Elite Eight team or something special, because it's the coach and his staff that are obviously liking these guys and feeling like they're the piece that is going to fit in well. I am kind of curious. I mean, Lawan Watts is one that has been at the forefront of my mind as far as looking to see maybe how he could fit in. And I think as far as at least some recognition, understanding what he's already brought to the table as a college basketball player. But Chris, is it that name or another that maybe stands out to you specifically, an individual that you're like, I'm anxious to see how this guy fits in? Or is it a Bamboye or somebody else that I'm not thinking about?
Well, you're seeing a lot of the national media, a few select ones kind of popping out some stuff about Tyree Bryan.
Yeah.
Lately, that's been kind of the theme, is like I talked to somebody close to the Texas Tech program, or well-placed moles within the Tech program or whatever are indicating to me, which it's probably just Coach McCaslin. That's what
that's a well-placed one.
That's a lot of those national guys just text him directly, and then they make it sound real sexy whenever they phrase it the way that they do. So he's getting a lot of chatter, and I think that I am, him or Atwell, like you're excited about. But I go back to it's Watts.
Yeah,
Watts is going to be because in level of importance. The thing about like Atwell and Bryan is that there is the other one is there, so it's like, okay, if not him, then maybe him. But like with Lawan Watts, with what his skill set is, it's like, okay, him or I don't know. I don't know, right?
Well, it's probably not fair to him, but I'm, at least as a Tech fan, I'm viewing him as a replacement for someone specifically, and that someone was a dang good player in Darion Williams. So I say it's unfair because that may just be a fan perspective that's too simplistic, Chris, but I'm thinking about the shoes I'm hoping he's going to fill, which also adds another layer to that.
Whose shoes are you thinking he may replace?
First, today's episode brought to you by 5 Hour Energy, and it's time to fuel up and turn it up with 5 Hour Energy Transfusion. This grape ginger and lime flavored shot brings the iconic taste of a golf course favorite to a non-alcoholic boost, making it a hole-in-one for your energy game when you're out on the course, or if you're needing just a little extra push anytime to power through your day. 5 Hour Energy Transfusion delivers the clubhouse flavor you love without ever leaving the green. Now you can amp up the fun even more. Just buy, snap, and enter for a chance to win a dream golf trip for 2 to any golf tournament in the USA. Visit 5HE, that's 5FIVEHE win.com for full rules and entry. 5HEwin.com for full rules and entry. No purchase necessary. Excludes the Masters tournament. Ends October 31st, 2025.
Whose shoes are you thinking he may replace?
That's one Darion Williams.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I think that you are looking at maybe a better athlete. I think that maybe a little bit more explosive and do some different things. Maybe has, I don't know, a bit more upside. But what you don't have is experience at this kind of level. Okay. And then can you do it? Can you go do this on the road? Can you go do this when it really matters? Can you put it all on the table when it comes to blank cutting time,
Right. Yes.
Like Darion did in San Francisco, like he did in Houston, at different times, and just that clutch component, like he did in Provo, Utah last year. That's the unknown. You may see a player with more skills, more athleticism, titch more size, can play above the rim, He's going to put up numbers, but what made Darion so good is that it was when some of those moments came and who, where it was happening and who it was happening against and all those things. And I think that's an important part of the stew there that was cooking up something really good last year.
Yeah, that's a big bingo, because you can look at the guy and think, all right, statistically or measurably or whatever, maybe he's similar, or maybe even I like this a little bit better. But how do you gauge the clutch factor, which is as big of a selling point for Darion as a Red Raider as there was, I think, in some of those moments.
Well, and Callan, you're as tough as your non-conference is, you will start to get a bit of that, like, and get a feel for where he's at, or where all these guys are with some of these tough matchups. But it's January and February, and then hopefully March and maybe even April when you really find out the answer to some of that.
Hey, and I'm fine with blowing them out to where we don't even have to have any clutch buckets. That's fine. Let's get Jackie Franchise some run in those clutch minutes. Speaking of that, Chris, and those big challenges on the schedule this year, it's waiting for you in the Big 12, but man, it's going to be a whole different kind of dance outside of the conference schedule this time around. And Coach McCaslin was also asked about the challenges that they have signed up for.
First of all, in the Big 12, going from 20 games to 18 games, we needed to add a couple of games that we knew would be significant, that matched the strength of schedule for our league. And then after that, playing in the Metroplex, I think is a big deal. And having an opportunity for just to have not only playing there, but having quality opponents, and then trying to create a home court, neutral court combination. We want to play games in the USA, and starting on the road at Illinois will give us the opportunity to have a home game. And then we've got some games contracted that we haven't been able to get to the table at home. So that's kind of the next step in this process. I think our strength of schedule is significantly better, but we want to improve the home court games here at the USA, and we'll be able to do that with the home and home series with Illinois.
Chris, even going back to the Chris Beard years, as a fan kind of got accustomed to a new roster almost, and this sort of project to bring them together that was ongoing as the season began. A lot of times I was grateful for the non-conference time you had to sort of tune this thing up before conference play. I still am to a degree, but I guess this is going to be an experience unlike most we have seen as you try to bring a new collection of faces together, as it gets very serious very early.
Yeah, it does. And I just think that you're going to continue to have this revolving door with your roster each year. There's just going to be a lot of, what I mean by that is you're going to have some returners always, but you're also going to have like guys that you're immediately bringing in that you're going to count on heavily. Like, hey man, you might be taking the shot at the end of the shot clock guy, or hey, I'm going to put the ball in your hands for 35, 40 minutes going forward here. Or you two guys are a starter here, even though you've never, hardly been in Lubbock before. Those things are just going to continue to happen. How Grant schedules, honestly, because I think that they were intentional with putting this schedule together, because I think that they knew who they had coming back. They knew who they had coming in. And I think they wanted to schedule up to that, if that makes sense, like challenge themselves. And don't forget, this is something we talked about. I don't know if this was back in like May or early June when they had Big 12 meetings out in Orlando, I guess it was. Remember the basketball portion of it was like, hey, you guys want to be like the SEC. This is the league talking to its own coaches, okay, in the Big 12. But it's like, hey, you see all these SEC schools getting in, and then you wonder why our league didn't get as many schools in, and then you wonder about seeding and all the different things. Now we're going to take 2 conference games off the table. We have to challenge ourselves, and we have to do well in those challenges. The end. You don't like it, go fix it. And I think whoever's in charge of basketball for the league, I remember him saying to the coaches, okay, there's different levels of this. You trying to schedule just to make the tournament? You trying to schedule to to have a decent to high seed, or are you trying to schedule in the non-conference to go be a 1 seed? And I think that you'd make the argument Texas Tech's trying to schedule to go be a 1 seed.
Yes.
That's what their goal is, or what they're trying to do. This wasn't just to make the tournament or anything like that. So, because I think what the message that the coaches got was, hey, don't come crying to me. I'm telling you what you need to go do. Go figure it out. Do what's best, but test yourself, or don't test yourself. Up to you. But this is where it's at. But some of this is going to spill over into the USA in the coming years. And I do think you can hear Grant saying they are committed to the Metroplex area for the next foreseeable future.
Yeah.
The Dickies folks want you. And this is a new one with the AAC kind of jumping back in. It's back to the old Bob Knight stuff from years ago. So I think this could become some of the norm too.
Well, before we get out of here, Chris, I know that you mentioned this, I think, on the mailbag episode about being on the lookout for some new home and home series they're trying to get lined up. I don't know how I interpreted it then listening to you talk about it, but it does sound like to me, Coach McCa's, it's not just like they're, hey, we got this new idea now, let's go see if we can do it. But maybe the conversation's way more advanced than some fans were assuming.
It is. You talking about the Illinois home and home?
No, just the home and home in general, or the effort to secure more home and homes.
I think because people get frustrated, right? I mean, you and I have talked about it. You live here, you have a season ticket. It's like, man, I don't want to go watch, my guys play New Orleans or
Lindenwood, with all due respect.
Yeah, Lindenwood, Northwestern State, whatever. I'd like to occasionally see a little bit of a juice on this thing.
Yeah.
I just know this. It's not for lack of effort on Texas Tech's end of things. They had an A&M done, a year ago. They back out. Different circumstances. Now there's a different coach. Now that may never get picked up, or maybe it's on the cusp of happening again. I don't know. But they had that one done a year ago. This year, I think they were trying, but they got Illinois to agree. But it's like, hey, we'll do it, but we get the first home game. All right, then. Okay, that's the way you want to do it. And again, I think that they've engaged on some of these potential home and homes, but it's like you have to have the other guy be willing to agree. And I was curious if you were. It won't happen now because now I think everybody's removed. I think, but I was always curious if like, okay, you ever going to do a home and home with North Texas just because of the roots?
Yeah.
But Coach Hodge is now at West Virginia, and then I was curious about like SFA with Coach Breyer. With the some coaches want to do that. Hey, I'll do you a favor. We'll do a home and home, or we'll put you on. And some are like, no, I'm not playing you, man. You're my buddy. But those don't even come close to like what you're talking about. You're talking about some name recognition, some season ticket value to where it's like, okay, this is a legit. Because the last one I could remember, Cowan, was Beard was here. And it was Eric Musselman was coaching the Wolfpack of Nevada, and they were here in a game right before Christmas. And I want to say they were like 8th or 9th in the country at the time. But they just weren't a household name. They weren't a blue blood or whatever, because everything else has been SEC or Big East Challenge or whatever. But that was just a straight up. Hey, we want you to come in here and play and all that stuff. But they just happened to be really good. And I think they went to the Sweet 16 that year at least, did the Wolfpack. But anyway, I'm just glad that you've got a really good team, and you should be very relevant nationally from the get-go. And that's when life gets super stressful. As soon as these guys get going, football's still going. It's like none of us can see straight. You're trying to just try to piecemeal the days together going, okay, what am I supposed to be focused on right now? But hey, man,
you look at the schedule and you're like, oh, Lindenwood, no worries. I'll just keep thinking about football. I'll come back around. Then like 48 hours later, it's like Illinois. Oh, wait, so I do need to be locked in. Okay. So let's get limbered up and get ready. This is going to be a non-conference, unlike other non-conferences that we've been accustomed to. It, like I said, gets serious very quickly. All right, Chris, seriously, thank you for some extra time. Always love talking hoops with you, and can't wait to get back to it when man, we may soon be talking about a preseason top 10 kind of basketball team in Lubbock. So looking forward to all of that.
Yeah, I mean, maybe so. You're deep, you're talented. There's some expectations there. The schedule is just easily the toughest non-conference schedule this school has ever put on paper, ever. I don't even know if that could be disputed. And it's got degrees of where it could be tougher than what's actually on paper right now because of that Purdue scenario there in the Bahamas. I'm looking forward to it. And you've got Big 12 Player of the Year coming back. You've got one of the most talented sophomores in the country, and you've got a hell of a head coach. So let's go.
Hell yeah. Thank you for joining us on the fly. If you're subscribed on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts, you knew it was coming. So make sure if you're not, you get subscribed on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts so you never miss a thing at any time. Thank you for being out there. Shout out to the everydayers, sometimes even twice a dayers. And of course, the Matador Mob. Hit our show notes and find a link to a free 14-day trial. If you're interested in joining that crew, that's your direct line to Chris and myself with one-on-one text sent straight to your phone. For Chris, I'm Casey. Thanks as always for the extra time. And we hope to see you back for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.